The chamber was massive, built to hold representatives from 47 different species. Crystal walls curved upward toward a dome that showed the stars beyond. Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the center platform, her blue uniform crisp and clean. Around her, hundreds of alien beings watched from their seats. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of light itself. This was the Galactic Council, and today humanity would show what they could do. Chen pressed a button on her datapad. A hologram appeared above her head showing a human warship. It was the UN's Defiant, one of Earth's newest vessels. The ship rotated slowly so everyone could see it. "This is our standard military vessel," Chen said. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "It carries railguns that fire metal projectiles at high speed. We also have missile systems with chemical propulsion and nuclear warheads." A sound rippled through the audience. It took Chen a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. The aliens were laughing. A creature that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke first. Its voice was translated into English by the chamber's systems. "You throw metal? Actual chunks of metal at your enemies." More laughter came. Chen kept her face calm, but her jaw tightened. The Zinthkar ambassador rose from his seat. The Zinthkar were tall beings with forearms and skin that shimmered like oil on water. They were one of the most powerful species in the council. The ambassador's voice was smooth and mocking. "Forgive us, Admiral Chen. We do not mean to be rude, but you must understand how this sounds to us. We stopped using kinetic weapons 10,000 years ago. They are so primitive." He gestured with two of his hands. Another hologram appeared showing a Zinthkar warship. "Our vessels use plasma cannons and particle beams. Pure energy weapons. They can destroy a ship in seconds. And our shields," he smiled, "our shields can stop any kinetic attack with barely any power at all." A reptilian delegate from the Saurian collective hissed what might have been agreement. "We tested human weapons after first contact. Our basic defensive screens stopped everything. The energy cost was 0.001% of our reactor output." Chen had expected this. She had been warned that the Council looked down on humanity's technology. But hearing it was different from knowing it would happen. "We have other capabilities," Chen said. "Our industrial capacity is growing. Our soldiers are well trained. We can contribute to Council defense operations." The Zinthkar ambassador waved a dismissive hand. Of course. Every species has its strengths. Humanity is very good at..." What was it? Oh yes, breeding quickly and adapting to harsh worlds. Very useful traits. The condescension in his voice was clear. Chen felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she kept her expression neutral. A council member who looked like a floating brain in a glass sphere spoke up. "We must assign humanity a military threat rating. Based on their demonstrated capabilities, I suggest Class 7. Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Chen had studied the classification system. Class 1 was reserved for the most powerful species, those who could destroy planets. Class 7 was the lowest rating. It meant harmless. The vote was quick. 45 species voted for Class 7. Only 2 abstained. None voted for a higher classification. The council leader, an ancient being called a keeper who looked like a tree made of crystal, spoke in a voice like wind through leaves. "Humanity is welcome to the Galactic Council as provisional members. You will be assigned territories in the frontier regions." Chen knew what that meant. The frontier was where the Council sent species they did not value. Worlds that were far from the galactic core, hard to defend, and often attacked by raiders or worse. "We accept the Council's decision," Chen said. She had no choice. Refusing would mean isolation, and Earth needed the technology and trade the Council offered. As the session ended, delegates filed out. Many passed Chen without a glance. A few nodded politely. The Zinthkar ambassador made sure to stop beside her. "Do not feel bad, Admiral," he said. His tone was almost kind, which somehow made it worse. "Every species starts somewhere. Perhaps in a few thousand years, humanity will develop real weapons. Until then, stay safe on the frontier. Try not to attract attention from anything dangerous." He walked away, leaving Chen alone on the platform. She stood there for a long moment, looking up at the stars through the dome. Her hands were clenched into fists. Every instinct told her to shout, to argue, to make them understand. But she was a military officer and a diplomat. Control was everything. Finally, she allowed herself a small smile. It was not a happy smile. "You laugh now," she said quietly to the empty chamber. "But kinetic weapons are just the beginning. You have no idea what humans can do when we're pushed. She picked up her data pad and left. Behind her, the hologram of the UNS Defiant still rotated slowly, showing off weapons that the galaxy considered toys. But Chen knew something the Council did not. The weapons she had shown them today were 50 years old. Humanity's actual military capabilities were still classified, still hidden. Let them laugh. Let them think humans were weak. That would make what came next so much more satisfying. As she walked through the corridors toward the human delegation's quarters, Chen thought about the frontier territories they had been assigned. Dangerous areas, yes, but also areas where humanity could operate without the Council watching their every move. Sometimes being underestimated was the best advantage of all. The mockery would end soon enough. Chen would make sure of that. 6 months had passed since humanity joined the Galactic Council. The colony world of New Vladivostok orbited a yellow star on the edge of known space. It was a frontier world, exactly the kind the Council had assigned to humanity. 2,300,000 people called it home now. They had built cities, farms, factories. It was becoming a real home. Captain Marcus Webb stood on the bridge of the UNS Indomitable, watching the planet through the view screen. Somewhere down there in the city of New Moscow, his daughter Emma was starting her first year at the Colonial University. She wanted to be a xenobiologist. She wanted to study alien life and help humanity understand the galaxy better. Webb was very proud of her. He was also terrified, though he would never say it out loud. "Captain," said Lieutenant Rodriguez from the sensor station, "we're receiving a priority alert from Council channels." Webb turned. "What is it?" Rodriguez's face went pale as she read her screen. "Sir, it's a devourer swarm. Heading this way." The bridge went silent. Every member of the crew knew what that meant. The devourers were the galaxy's nightmare. They were a hive species that traveled in massive biological ships. No one knew where they came from originally. They had appeared thousands of years ago and had been terrorizing the galaxy ever since. They consumed everything in their path. Metals, organic matter, energy, everything. Their ships could absorb energy weapons and use that power to grow stronger and reproduce. Entire civilizations had fallen to the devourers. The Council's strategy was simple and horrifying. When a devourer swarm appeared, they abandoned whatever worlds were in its path. They called it strategic resource allocation. Everyone else called it what it was: sacrifice. "How many ships?" Webb asked. His voice was steady, but his heart was racing. "Sensors show at least 200 bioships, sir. Maybe more. They'll reach New Vladivostok in 18 hours. Webb immediately opened a channel to Council headquarters. "This is Captain Marcus Webb of the UNS Indomitable. We have a devourer swarm approaching colony world New Vladivostok, requesting immediate military support." The response came back within minutes. A keeper appeared on the screen, its crystalline face showing no emotion. "Request denied, Captain Webb. New Vladivostok is classified as a frontier territory. Council resources cannot be allocated for defense. You are advised to evacuate what population you can." Webb felt anger surge through him. "There are over 2 million people down there. We can't evacuate that many in 18 hours. Then you should have built your colony in a safer location," the keeper said. "The Council warned humanity that frontier territories carry risks." This conversation is ended. The screen went dark. Webb stood there staring at the empty screen. His hands were shaking. Around him, his crew waited for orders. They all knew what this meant. The Council was leaving them to die. Rodriguez spoke quietly. "Sir, what do we do?" Webb took a deep breath. He thought about Emma sitting in a classroom, learning about alien plants. He thought about all the people who had left Earth to build a better life on this world. He thought about the oath he had taken when he joined the military. "Send a message to Earth Command," Webb said. "Tell them we need every available ship at New Vladivostok immediately. And tell them to bring the new weapons." Rodriguez looked up sharply. "The experimental ones, sir?" "Yes," Webb said. "All of them." The message went out. Webb knew it would take time for ships to arrive. Earth was 2 weeks away at best. But the experimental FTL drive some ships might cut that time down. He had to hope it would be enough. Meanwhile, he opened a general channel. "This is Captain Marcus Webb to all human vessels in the sector. We have a situation at New Vladivostok. I need every ship that can fight to rendezvous at these coordinates. We're not running. We're not letting the Council abandon our people." Responses came back quickly. 10 ships were close enough to help. Most were freighters or science vessels, but their captains agreed to come anyway, along with the Indomitable and its sister ship, the Resolute. That made 12 ships total. 12 ships against 200 Devourer bioships. The odds were impossible. Everyone knew it, but no one suggested retreat. Webb sent one more message, this one to Emma. "Hi, sweetheart. There's some trouble coming, but don't worry. Dad's here and I'm not going anywhere. Stay safe, stay underground if the sirens go off. I love you. See you soon." He did not mention that he might not survive to keep that promise. The hours ticked by. The human fleet gathered in orbit. The Devourers kept coming, a dark mass moving through space like a plague. And then something unexpected happened. Alien ships appeared at the edge of the system. Not council ships coming to help. No, these were observer vessels. The Zinthkar had sent a ship. So had the Saurians and half a dozen other species. They were coming to watch humanity die. Webb received a transmission from the Zinthkar observer ship. It was the same ambassador who had mocked Admiral Chen at the council. His forearms were spread wide in a gesture that might have been sympathy but looked more like satisfaction. "Captain Webb, we wanted to document this moment for historical records. Humanity's first encounter with the Devourers will be educational for other young species. Perhaps your sacrifice will teach them not to be so arrogant about settling dangerous territories." Webb wanted to curse at him. Instead, he just smiled. "Keep watching, Ambassador. You might learn something today." The ambassador laughed. "Learn what? How quickly humans die? We already know that." Webb cut the transmission. He looked at his crew. They were scared but ready. Good people, all of them. People who had families and dreams and futures they might not see. "All ships," Webb said over the fleet channel. "The Devourers will be here in 1 hour. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten human worlds. We're going to show the galaxy what we're really capable of. And we're going to make sure those observers remember this day for the rest of their lives." On the view screen, the Devourer swarm was growing larger. Hundreds of massive organic ships, each one covered in teeth and claws and weapons. They looked like deep-sea creatures, twisted and wrong, but Webb was not afraid anymore. He was angry, and he was ready. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson about humanity. The Devourer swarm hit the human fleet like a tsunami of teeth and claws. The first wave crashed into the defensive line. Captain Webb gave the order immediately. "All ships open fire." The UNS Indomitable's railguns roared to life. Tungsten slugs flew through space at incredible speeds, smashing into Devourer bioships. The impacts tore through organic armor, punching holes the size of cars. 3 bioships exploded from the initial volley. Around the Indomitable, the other human ships fired everything they had. Missiles streaked through the darkness, their chemical engines burning bright. Nuclear warheads detonated in brilliant flashes, vaporizing Devourer ships caught in the blasts. The alien observers watched from a safe distance. Webb could imagine their surprise. Humanity's primitive weapons were actually working. But the Devourers adapted quickly. That was what made them so dangerous. Their organic armor began to shift and change, growing thicker where the railgun slugs hit. Their shields, strange fields of biological energy, grew stronger. "They're learning from our attacks," Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. "Kinetic damage is decreasing by 30%. 40%. 50%. Webb had expected this. The Council had warned them. Devourers consumed technology and evolved. That was why energy weapons eventually became useless against them. The bioships just absorbed the energy and grew more powerful. "Switch to pattern Delta," Webb ordered. "Keep them guessing." The human fleet changed tactics, firing from different angles, using different weapons in rotating sequences. They destroyed 20 bioships, then 30, then 50. It was not enough. For every Devourer they killed, 3 more pushed forward. The swarm was too large, too overwhelming. The freighter Cassandra took a hit. Its hull ripped open, atmosphere venting into space. The captain managed to evacuate most of the crew before the ship broke apart. The science vessel Newton exploded when Devourer weapons punched through its reactor shielding. 23 people died instantly. Webb watched his fleet shrink. 12 ships became 10, then 8, then 6. The Indomitable shuddered as a Devourer weapon struck its port side. Alarms blared. "Hull breach on decks 4 and 5, Rodriguez called out. "Life support failing in sections C through G." "Seal those sections," Webb ordered. "Divert all remaining power to weapons and engines." On his view screen he could see the observer ships. They had moved even further back, staying clear of the battle. The Zinthkar ambassador was probably recording everything, preparing his report on how quickly humanity fell. Another human ship died. The destroyer Valiant went down fighting, taking 4 Devourers with it. That left 5 ships. The Devourers still had over 100 bioships in fighting condition. Webb looked at his sensor display. The numbers did not lie. They were losing. In another 10 minutes, the fleet would be gone. Then the Devourers would descend on New Vladivostok and consume everything. Every person, every building, every dream. Emma would die. 2,300,000 people would die, unless he did something the galaxy had never seen before. Rodriguez, Webb said quietly. What's the status of the main cannon? Rodriguez looked up sharply. Sir, the experimental weapon? It's charged and ready, but we were told not to use it except as a last resort. The calculations might be off. It could destroy us along with the target. I'd say this qualifies as a last resort, Webb said. He opened a channel to the remaining fleet. All ships, this is Webb. Fall back to position Gamma. Get clear of the target zone. I'm taking the shot. The human ships began to pull back. The Devourers surged forward, sensing weakness. They were wrong. Webb turned to his helmsman. Position us for the shot. Target the largest bioship. That's their command vessel. The Indomitable limped forward on damaged engines. Devourer weapons kept hitting it, tearing pieces away. The ship was dying, Webb knew. But it only needed to survive for 2 more minutes. The main cannon was built into the spine of the ship. It was an experimental weapon that Earth had been developing in secret. The Council did not know about it. No one outside of the highest levels of human military command knew about it. It was a railgun, but not like the others. This one could accelerate a projectile to 90% the speed of light. It used technology that had taken humanity 50 years to develop. Magnetic fields powerful enough to tear atoms apart. Containment systems that could barely hold the forces involved. The projectile itself was simple. A 500-kilogram tungsten rod, just metal, like the Zinthkar had laughed about. But at 90% light speed, that metal became something else entirely. It became a planet killer. Target locked, said the weapons officer. Solution calculated. Sir, even if this works, the recoil will tear the ship apart. I know, Webb said. He thought about Emma one more time. He hoped she would understand why he did this. He hoped she would forgive him for not coming home. Fire. The main cannon fired. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The tungsten rod was too fast for the human eye to track. It crossed the distance between the Indomitable and the Devourer command ship in 1.2 seconds. Then, reality caught up with the math. The rod hit the bioship at 270,000 kilometers per second. The kinetic energy released was 90 petatons. That was 90 million megatons, more than every nuclear weapon ever built by humanity, all detonating at once. The Devourer command ship did not explode. It simply stopped existing. 1 microsecond it was there. The next microsecond there was only energy. Pure, terrible energy. The shock wave expanded outward in a perfect sphere. It vaporized 63 Devourer bioships instantly. The heat was hotter than the surface of a star. The light was bright enough to see from 3 star systems away. The Indomitable was caught in the edge of the blast. The ship's rear section tore away. The bridge lost power. Webb felt himself thrown against his command chair. Alarm screamed. Metal shrieked. But through the chaos, Webb saw something beautiful. The remaining Devourer bioships were turning away. They were retreating. For the first time in 4,000 years of galactic history, a Devourer swarm was running away. They're leaving, Rodriguez said, her voice filled with wonder. Sir, they're actually leaving. Webb tried to answer, but his chest hurt too much. He looked down and saw blood. A piece of shrapnel had caught him. He was hurt badly. Get everyone to the escape pods, he managed to say. That's an order. His crew hesitated. Sir, you need medical attention. Pottery now. Webb's voice was firm despite the pain. Make sure New Vladivostok knows what happened here. Make sure they remember. As his crew evacuated, Webb stayed in the command chair. He watched through the broken view screen as the Devourers fled into deep space. He watched the observer ships frozen in shock at what they had witnessed. He smiled. It hurt, but he smiled anyway. He activated the emergency beacon and then reached for the communications panel one last time. Emma, if you're listening, we won. New Vladivostok is safe. I love you, sweetheart. Worth it. All of it was worth it. The escape pod ejected just before the Indomitable's reactor failed. Webb lost consciousness, but he was still smiling. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Every species had sent representatives. Some had sent their leaders. Emergency sessions were rare, but what happened at New Vladivostok was beyond rare. It was unprecedented. Admiral Sarah. Chen stood at the center platform again, just as she had 6 months ago. But this time, no one was laughing. The hologram above her head showed the moment of impact. The tungsten rod hitting the Devourer command ship. The explosion that followed. The shockwave that destroyed 63 more bioships. And most importantly, the retreat. The recording played on repeat. Alien delegates stared at it with expressions ranging from shock to horror to fascination. The Zinthkar ambassador was the first to speak. His usual smooth confidence was gone. His forearms trembled slightly as he stood. This is impossible. Our sensors must have malfunctioned. No kinetic weapon can generate that much energy. A scientist from the Cerebral Collective floated forward. Its brain pulsed with lights as it spoke. Our analysis confirms the data. The human weapon accelerated a metal projectile to 0.9 c. At that velocity, the kinetic energy formula becomes relativistic. The math is simple, but devastating. This was a 90 petaton impact. Silence fell over the chamber. Every species understood what that meant. 90 petatons could crack a planet's crust. It could vaporize a moon. And most terrifying of all, it could bypass every defensive technology the galaxy had developed. Another scientist, this one, a crystalline being from the Lithian aggregate, added more information. We have tested this thoroughly. Energy shields work by redirecting or absorbing energy. They are useless against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The projectile would pass through our shields as if they were not there. A reptilian delegate from the Saurian collective hissed in distress. You mean we have been vulnerable to this all along? For 10,000 years we have been developing energy weapons and energy defenses, and this entire time a simple metal rod could destroy us? Not simple, the cerebral scientist corrected. The acceleration technology required is extremely advanced. But yes, in principle you are correct. Panic rippled through the chamber. Delegates argued with each other in dozens of languages. The translation systems struggled to keep up. The Zinthkar ambassador pointed at Chen with two of his arms. This is humanity's fault. They have destabilized the entire galactic order. They must be contained, stripped of council membership. Their weapons must be confiscated immediately. Chen had been waiting for this. She kept her voice calm and clear. Ambassador, with respect, we did not destabilize anything. We simply used the tools we had to protect our people. Tools that you all laughed at 6 months ago, if I recall correctly. The Zinthkar's skin flushed darker with anger. You deliberately deceived the council. You showed us outdated weapons while hiding these planet killers. We showed you what you asked to see, Chen replied. Humanity's standard military capabilities. You made assumptions about what we might have in development. Those assumptions were incorrect. A delegate from the avian sovereignty, a species that looked like massive intelligent birds, spoke up. The Devourers are still out there. They have terrorized the galaxy for millennia. Humanity made them retreat for the first time in recorded history. Perhaps we should focus on that achievement rather than on blame. Achievement? The Zinthkar ambassador sputtered. They have weapons that could destroy any of our homeworlds. That is not an achievement. That is a threat. Admiral Chen raised her hand for silence. The gesture was small, but somehow commanding. The chamber quieted. Let me be very clear, Chen said. Humanity has no intention of threatening anyone. We developed these weapons for defense, and we used them for defense. Captain Webb sacrificed his ship and nearly his life to protect 2 million civilians. That is what we do with our weapons. We protect people. She pressed a button on her data pad. New information appeared in the hologram. However, since the Council is concerned, let me share some facts. Earth currently has 50 ships equipped with relativistic kinetic weapons. We have 200 more under construction. Production will continue until we feel our territories are adequately defended. The number sent another wave of shock through the chamber. 250 ships that could bypass any defense, 250 planet killers under human control. The keeper who led the council spoke for the first time. Its crystalline voice was thoughtful. What does humanity want, Admiral Chen? Chen had prepared for this question. Full council membership, not provisional, full. We want access to technology exchanges, fair trade agreements, and mutual defense treaties. We want to be treated as equals, not as primitives who should be grateful for whatever scraps we receive. And if we refuse? The Zinthkar asked. Chen met his eyes. Then humanity will defend our own interests, alone if we must. But I would remind the council that the Devourers are still out there. They have been driven back, but they will return. They always do. When that happens, would you rather have humanity as an ally or as a neutral party watching from the sidelines? The threat was subtle but clear. Humanity could help defend the galaxy, or they could stay isolated and let other species deal with the Devourers on their own. Without human weapons, the Council's strategy would remain what it had always been. Sacrifice and retreat. The avian delegate spoke again. I vote for full membership. We need the humans. Their weapons, yes, but also their willingness to fight. They did not run when the Devourers came. They stayed and defended their world. That is the kind of ally we need. Other voices joined in. Not all were supportive, but enough were. The galaxy had seen something at New Vladivostok that they had forgotten. Courage, determination, the willingness to stand and fight even when the odds were impossible. The vote took hours. There were arguments, debates, and heated exchanges. The Zinthkar and several other traditional powers voted against humanity. But in the end, 31 species voted in favor. That was enough. The Keeper announced the result. Humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities that entails. Additionally, humanity is designated as a special military partner. Human weapons doctrine will be studied and integrated into Council defense strategies. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They had done it. Humanity was no longer the laughingstock of the galaxy. They were a power to be respected. But as she left the chamber, Chen knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was changing. The old certainties about warfare were gone. Energy weapons had dominated for 10,000 years. Now kinetic weapons were back, and every species would be scrambling to either develop them or defend against them. And the Devourers were still out there. The battle at New Vladivostok had driven them off, but it had not destroyed them. They would learn. They would adapt. They would return. The galaxy needed humanity's weapons. But more than that, it needed humanity's spirit. The willingness to fight for what mattered, even against impossible odds. Chen thought about Captain Webb, recovering in a hospital on New Vladivostok. He had lost his ship, but saved his daughter and millions of others. He was a hero now, whether he wanted to be or not. The galaxy had awakened to a new reality. The age of human influence had begun, and Admiral Chen intended to make sure humanity used that influence wisely. 6 months after the vote, the galaxy looked very different. Admiral Marcus Webb stood on the observation deck of Sentinel Station, a new human military base on the frontier. His chest still ached sometimes from his injuries, but the doctors said he was lucky to be alive. He felt lucky. He had been home to New Vladivostok 3 times since the battle. Each time Emma had hugged him so hard he thought his ribs might break again. He did not mind at all. Below the station, ships moved through space in organized formations. Human vessels mixed with alien ones. They were training together, learning from each other. The avian sovereignty had sent a wing of their fastest fighters. The Lithian aggregate contributed their best engineers. Even some of the reluctant species had sent observers to study human tactics. It is strange, is it not? Said a voice beside Webb. He turned to see Admiral Sarah Chen. She had arrived that morning for an inspection tour. Together they watched the mixed fleet maneuvers. What's strange? Webb asked. 6 months ago they laughed at us, Chen said. Now every major military academy in the galaxy has added courses on kinetic warfare. Manufacturers are competing to produce relativistic accelerators. We went from Class 7 threat rating to the most studied military force in the galaxy. Webb nodded. Fear is a powerful motivator. It is not just fear, Chen said. She pointed at the view screen. Look at them. They are not here because they are afraid of us. They are here because they want to learn, because they know the Devourers will come back, and when they do, they want to be ready. It was true. The mood in the training exercises was collaborative, not hostile. Alien captains asked questions about firing solutions and trajectory calculations. Human engineers helped retrofit alien ships with magnetic acceleration systems. It was not perfect cooperation, but it was progress. A message came through on Webb's communicator. Admiral, we have confirmation. Devourer activity detected in Sector 9. Webb's expression hardened. How many ships? 30 bioships. They are approaching a mining colony on Viridian 3. Chen was already moving toward the command center. Webb followed. This was the third Devourer incursion since New Vladivostok. Each time, the response had been faster and more coordinated. In the command center, a holographic star map showed the Viridian system. Red markers indicated the Devourer positions. Blue markers showed the response fleet already en route. Human vessels? Webb asked. 4 ships equipped with relativistic weapons, the tactical officer reported, plus 6 council vessels with conventional armaments. They will arrive in 2 hours. Chen studied the display. Only 30 bioships. That's smaller than usual for the Devourers. They're being cautious. They're learning, Webb said grimly, just like we knew they would. The battle at New Vladivostok had proven that relativistic kinetic weapons could hurt the Devourers badly. But the Devourers were not stupid. They were adapting their tactics, approaching in smaller groups, staying more mobile. Send reinforcements, Chen ordered. I want 8 more ships in that sector. And tell them to use Pattern Omega. Pattern Omega was a new tactic developed by human and alien strategists working together. It used conventional weapons to herd Devourers into kill zones where the relativistic weapons could be most effective. It had worked well in the last 2 engagements. As the orders went out, Webb noticed something on the edge of the star map. What's that? Sector 12. The tactical officer zoomed in. Unknown contact. The signature is strange. Not Devourer. Not any council species we recognize, Chen frowned. How long has it been there? Sensors picked it up 10 minutes ago. It is not moving, just observing. Keep tracking it, Chen said, and increase sensor sweeps in that area. I want to know who or what that is. Webb had a bad feeling about the unknown contact, but there was no time to investigate now. The Devourers were the immediate threat. 2 hours later, reports came back from Viridian 3. The battle had been quick and decisive. 3 Devourer bioships destroyed by relativistic strikes. 15 more disabled by conventional weapons and then finished off. The rest retreated. The mining colony was saved with 0 casualties. It was a victory, but Webb did not feel like celebrating. Each engagement was getting more complex. The Devourers were definitely learning, changing their approach. Eventually, they would find a counter to human weapons. Or they would come back with overwhelming numbers that even relativistic weapons could not stop. Admiral Chen seemed to be thinking the same thing. We need to be ready for a larger confrontation, she said. The Devourers are testing us, probing our defenses. When they have learned enough, they will commit to a major offensive. Then we build more ships, Webb said. Train more crews. Bring more species into the alliance. Already happening, Chen confirmed. Production is accelerating. We will have 400 ships with relativistic weapons within a year. But there is another problem. She brought up a new display. It showed activity in several council systems. Secret communications. Unauthorized technology transfers. Ships moving in unusual patterns. What am I looking at? Webb asked. A conspiracy, Chen said quietly. Some species are not happy with humanity's rise to power. The Zinthkar, the hegemony of Krell, the Saurian hardliners. They are working together to steal or sabotage our technology. We have intercepted several attempts already. Webb felt anger rise in him. While the Devourers threaten the entire galaxy, these idiots are worried about politics? Fear makes people irrational, Chen said. They see us as a threat to their traditional dominance. They would rather weaken humanity than unite against the real enemy. What are we going to do about it? Chen's expression was hard. We watch them carefully. We protect our secrets, and we make sure that when the Devourers come in force, those conspiracy species realize they need us more than they hate us. A new message interrupted them. It was from the flagship of the Avian Sovereignty. Admirals, we have analyzed the unknown contact in Sector 12. It is definitely not Devourer. The energy signature suggests a new species, one we have never encountered before. They are watching us. Webb and Chen exchanged glances. A new species. That could be good or bad. The galaxy was vast, and not every species joined the council. Some remained isolated, some were hostile. Send a diplomatic probe, Chen ordered. Let them know we mean no harm. But keep weapons ready just in case. As the day continued, Webb found himself thinking about how much had changed. 6 months ago, humanity was a joke to most of the galaxy. Now they were defenders, allies, and to some a threat. The balance of power had shifted in ways no one could have predicted. That evening, Webb returned to his quarters and called Emma. Her face appeared on the screen, smiling and happy. "Hey, Dad, how are things on the frontier?" "Busy," Webb said. "But good. How's school?" "Amazing. I got to dissect a Viridian crystal beetle today. Did you know they have 17 different organ systems? It's incredible." Webb smiled. This was what he fought for. Not for power or glory, but for his daughter to study alien beetles in peace. For millions of people to live their lives without fear. For a future where humanity could thrive among the stars. "I'm proud of you, Emma," he said. "I'm proud of you too, Dad. The whole colony is. You saved us." After they said goodbye, Webb stood at his window looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Devourers were regrouping. Somewhere, conspirators plotted against humanity. Somewhere, unknown species watched and judged. But Webb was not afraid. Humanity had proven themselves once. They would do it again. Not because they were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they refused to give up. Because they stood and fought when others ran. Because they protected not just themselves, but anyone who needed protection. Admiral Sarah Chen had said it best in her message to the fleet last week. Webb remembered her words clearly. The species that the galaxy laughed at will be the first to stand between them and annihilation. Every single time. That is our promise. That is who we are. And that is why we will endure. Webb believed it. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of that change. There would be challenges ahead. Battles to fight. Enemies to face. But humanity had something the rest of the galaxy had forgotten in 10,000 years of energy weapons and defensive shields. They remembered how to fight with everything they had. They remembered that sometimes the simplest weapons were the most devastating. They remembered that courage and determination could overcome impossible odds. The mockery had ended at New Vladivostok. Now came the harder part, living up to the reputation they had earned, being the guardians they had promised to be. Webb touched the window, feeling the cold glass under his fingers. Beyond it, stars twinkled in the endless dark. Each one a sun. Each sun surrounded by worlds. Each world potentially full of life. It was a big galaxy, but humanity was ready for it. The new balance had been struck, and Marcus Webb would spend every day making sure it held.